Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. The moment I opened my eyes after being reborn back in 1978, I heard my husband, Officer Nathan Gray, speaking from outside the door. Autumn, let's get a fake divorce just for 1 year. In my past life, I had foolishly agreed, leaving the marriage with nothing, and even helped him raise that pure woman's child. This time I walked straight to the door, opened it and said calmly, "All right, let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow." Nathan froze, stunned. "What? You can really let go so easily?" At the exact moment I was reborn, I had been kneeling on the heated brick bed, sewing Nathan's military uniform. The needle pricked my finger, and a bead of blood dropped onto the green fabric. The sharp sting made me flinch. When I looked up, everything around me was the same. The old earthen house, the cracked walls with Chairman Mao's portrait hanging crookedly, and the chipped ceramic mug sitting on the table. I had truly come back to 1978, to the night that changed my entire life. Outside, familiar footsteps sounded, followed by a man's low voice. "Mom, please don't make things hard for Autumn. I'll take care of it." "Take care of what?" his mother snapped. "That girl's bad luck. Your father's leg broke because of her. Now Grace is pregnant with your child. If you don't marry her, who will?" My fingers clenched tightly around the needle and thread, my nails digging deep into my palm. Memories from my previous life surged back like a flood. Nathan had told me that his superiors required us to fake a divorce or it would affect his promotion. I had believed him without a second thought. I left with nothing, and not long after, he married that so-called pure woman, Grace. While they lived comfortably, I worked the hardest and dirtiest jobs at the youth camp, secretly sending them money for baby formula. It wasn't until the end of my life that I learned the truth. There had never been any order from his superiors. Nathan had simply wanted to get rid of me, his unlucky peasant wife. "Nathan," his mother went on, her voice sharp and cutting, "don't blame me for being cold-hearted. Autumn isn't good enough for you. Grace's family are officials. She's beautiful and she's giving you a healthy son." Her nagging continued endlessly. Nathan stayed silent for a long time before finally saying, "I understand." Just 3 simple words, light as air. Yet each one pierced into my heart like a knife. In my past life I had hidden behind the door, crying until I could hardly breathe. But this time I stayed calm. I set down the needle and thread, smoothed my hair and waited. The footsteps drew closer. Nathan pushed the door open. He was still as handsome and upright as ever, 28, tall and lean, his military uniform perfectly pressed, but his brows were furrowed, and there was something complicated in his eyes that I couldn't read. "Autumn," he called softly. I looked up at him, keeping my expression gentle and harmless. "What is it?" Nathan sat down at the edge of the bed, reaching out as if to touch my face. I subtly leaned away, pretending not to notice. His hand froze in midair for a moment before slowly lowering. "Autumn, there's something I need to tell you," he said. "Go ahead," I replied evenly, though inside I was already counting down. 3, 2, 1. Let's get a fake divorce. There it was. His voice was calm, but every word was crystal clear. "The higher-ups have a new policy," he explained. "Officers can't have rural spouses. It'll affect my promotion. We'll get divorced temporarily, and once I'm promoted and transferred, we'll remarry." He spoke with such seriousness, eyes full of sincerity just like before, so convincing that I had once been completely fooled. Now I could only laugh inside. "Fake divorce," I repeated slowly. "Then where am I supposed to live?" "There's still a bed available at the youth camp," he said quickly. "You can stay there for now. Just a year, at most a year, I promise." Nathan took my hand gently. "Autumn, I know this is hard on you, but there's no other way. After the divorce, I'll send you $20 a month for living expenses. That should be enough." $20. Back then I had been so naive, so grateful that I almost cried. Thinking back, I used to believe he treated me so well. Now that I think about it, it's just laughable. He earned $80 a month and gave me 20, as if that was some kind of generosity. And in the end, every single cent of that $20 went to buying baby formula for Grace's son. "Nathan, say something," he said, a bit tense. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. All right, I said. Nathan froze. What did you say? I said, all right, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow and get it done. I stood up and started packing my things. The sooner we ended this, the sooner I could be free. I'd had enough of living in this shabby place anyway. Nathan was completely stunned. Clearly, he hadn't expected me to agree so easily. Autumn, are you sure about this? I'm sure, I replied without turning my head. It's just a fake divorce, isn't it? What's there to think about? The room fell silent, except for the sound of me rummaging through drawers and folding clothes. After a while, Nathan finally spoke again. Then, when are you planning to move out? Tomorrow, I said flatly. Once we finish the paperwork, I'll leave right away. I neatly folded my clothes and packed them into a bundle. Better to act fast before anything changed. Nathan's face grew darker and darker. He seemed to be waiting for me to cry, to make a scene, to beg him not to divorce me. But I did none of that. I just kept packing quietly. Autumn, he finally said. Are you angry? I stopped what I was doing and turned to look at him. Why would I be angry? You said yourself, it's just a fake divorce. It's not like you're really leaving me. Nathan was speechless, his mouth opening but no words coming out. Suddenly, footsteps sounded outside, followed by a cautious knock on the door. Nathan, are you asleep? It was Grace's voice. Both Nathan and I froze. How timely of her. I'm not asleep. Come in, Nathan answered. Grace pushed the door open, carrying a bowl of egg drop soup in her hands. She was 22 that year. Indeed beautiful. Her willow leaf eyebrows framed her bright almond-shaped eyes. Her skin was pale and smooth like a peeled egg. She wore a neatly pressed blue linen-style outfit. Her hair was braided into two small pigtails, looking pure and innocent. Autumn, what are you doing? She asked when she saw me packing. She covered her mouth in feigned surprise. Nothing, I said lightly. Just tidying up the room. Grace handed the bowl to Nathan. Nathan, my mom asked me to bring this for you. She said, you've been overworking yourself lately. You should eat something nourishing. Please thank her for me, Nathan said as he took the bowl, though he didn't drink from it. Grace's eyes darted between the two of us, and her smile looked a little strained. Then I won't bother you anymore. Get some rest. She turned to leave, but as she stepped away, her foot slipped. Ah, she cried out as she started to fall. Nathan instinctively reached out to catch her. Grace fell right into his arms, her cheek pressed against his chest. I'm sorry, Nathan, she said softly, tears welling in her eyes. I'm so clumsy. It's all right, Nathan said quickly, helping her steady herself before pulling his hand back. But Grace didn't move away. Instead, she stayed leaning against him. Nathan, my stomach hurts a little, she whispered. Nathan's expression changed instantly. What's wrong? Do you need to go to the hospital? No, it's fine, she said quickly. It's been happening a lot lately. My mom said pregnant women are always like this. As she spoke, Grace deliberately rested her hand on her belly. Even though she only brushed her hand lightly across her stomach, it was enough for everyone in the room to understand what she meant. She was pregnant, and the father was clearly Nathan Gray. Watching the scene unfold, I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh in my heart. In my previous life, I had been completely fooled by this little act of hers. I even stupidly made chicken soup for him, thinking I was helping him recover. Only now did I realize she had never been pregnant at all. It was all a setup, something she and Nathan's mother had carefully planned to make me volunteer for a divorce. Grace, you should go rest now, Nathan said, his voice slightly strained. We can talk about everything tomorrow. All right, Nathan, Grace replied sweetly, nodding with practiced obedience. But before she left, she turned to look at me. There was a flash of smugness and challenge in her eyes, as if she were saying, see, I'm carrying his child. Who do you think you are? After she closed the door, the room fell into an awkward silence. Nathan sat there holding the bowl of egg drop soup that Grace had brought, but he didn't take a single sip. It's getting cold, I reminded him. He lifted his gaze toward me, his eyes flickering with a complicated emotion. Autumn, about Grace. What does that have to do with me? I cut him off. We're getting divorced tomorrow anyway. Please just let me explain. Explain what? I turned around to face him. Explain how you got her pregnant or explain why you have to marry her. Nathan opened his mouth but said nothing. There was nothing left to explain because the truth was simple. He was willing to fake a divorce with me just so he could marry Grace. Autumn, Enough. I waved my hand to stop him. We're getting divorced anyway. There's no point in saying anything more. I went back to packing my things, carefully organizing the dowry items I'd brought with me when we married. Back then I had left with nothing. This time I would take back everything that was mine. You're really planning to take all of that with you? Nathan asked, his face growing darker as he watched me. Of course, I replied without hesitation. These were mine to begin with. I packed my treasured enamel wash basin, the aluminum lunchbox, and that red wool blanket into a bundle. They might not seem valuable now, but in the 1970s these were precious things. Autumn, have you really made up your mind? Nathan asked one last time. I paused, looking at him. Seriously, Nathan, we've been married for 3 years. Do you really think I'm the kind of woman who's unreasonable? He stayed silent. You said it's a fake divorce, I continued. Fine, I'll believe you, but I have conditions. What conditions? First, after the divorce, you stay out of my business. I'll do whatever I want, and you're not allowed to interfere. Second, you must keep your word about the $20 a month. Don't you dare short me a single cent. And third, when we remarry, you'll apologize to me in front of everyone in the compound. I laid out my 3 conditions in one breath. Nathan's face turned paler with each one, especially the last. His brow furrowed tightly. Why do I need to apologize? He asked stiffly. Because a divorce ruins my reputation, I said firmly. When we remarry, you'll make it clear that it was because of your work, not because there was anything wrong with me. It was a reasonable demand, and Nathan couldn't find any flaw in it. All right, he said through gritted teeth. I promise. Good, then it's settled. I turned back to packing. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Nathan sat there staring at me as I moved around the room, folding and sorting my things. He didn't move for a long time. Only when I finished packing everything did he finally speak. Autumn, you've changed. Without turning my head, I said calmly. Have I? Maybe I've just grown up. I had grown up and I had finally seen things clearly. I saw this man's true face, and I saw the truth of our marriage. In my past life, I had loved him so humbly, so pathetically. But this time, I was going to make him understand that losing me would be the biggest mistake of his life. The next morning, I was woken up by voices outside the door. Nathan, keep your voice down. You'll wake Autumn, said Nathan's mother in a hushed tone. Wake her up. So what? Grandma Gray snapped loudly on purpose so I could hear every word. She's just a country girl. Does she really think she's some kind of lady of the house? Mom, please, Nathan said helplessly. It's the day of the divorce and you're still defending her, the old woman barked. I couldn't help but smirk coldly as I listened. In my past life, this old woman had made my life miserable, taking every chance to belittle and humiliate me. But this time, I'd make her see what it meant to trip over the stone she threw at someone else. When I pushed open the door, Grandma Gray was standing in the yard holding a wash basin. The moment she saw me, there was a flicker of discomfort in her eyes, but she quickly put on that sharp, sarcastic expression again. Well, you're up, she sneered. Big day today. You'd better get to the Civil Affairs Bureau early. I agree, I said with a bright smile. Don't worry, Grandma. I'll cooperate fully. She froze for a second, clearly thrown off by my calmness. In her little script, I was supposed to beg and cry, maybe even kneel begging Nathan to stay, but I wasn't following her script this time. Autumn, have you eaten breakfast? Nathan asked, walking out of the house holding 2 cornbread buns. No, and I'm not hungry, I said flatly. I really wasn't. My mind was too charged with the anger and excitement that came with rebirth to feel any appetite. Then let's go. The sooner we leave, the sooner we're done, he muttered. Nathan's face looked awful. Dark circles under his eyes, his expression tired and grim. Clearly, he hadn't slept much last night. As we stepped out of the courtyard, Grace came out of the neighboring yard. Today she wore a light pink blouse and had her hair done up in one of those new fashionable styles. She looked even prettier than before. Nathan, Autumn, she said with feigned surprise. Where are you two going so early? To the Civil Affairs Bureau, Nathan replied curtly. Oh, Grace nodded, pretending to be casual before turning her gaze toward me. Autumn, I heard you're moving back to the youth camp. That's right, I said evenly, smiling with deliberate cheerfulness. The air is fresher there, much better than here. Her smile stiffened. Really? She said awkwardly. She clearly hadn't expected that kind of answer. According to her plan, I was supposed to be resentful, desperate, maybe crying my eyes out. But I was too calm. So calm that it made her uneasy. Grace, stay home and rest, Grandma Gray said pointedly as she walked over. You're pregnant, remember? Don't go wandering around. Yes, Grandma, Grace replied obediently, nodding sweetly and even patting her belly for effect. I watched her little performance, and my conviction deepened. She wasn't pregnant. In my past life, I'd been fooled for a whole year, only realizing the truth when she supposedly miscarried. Now I knew even that miscarriage had been staged. Just another act to make Nathan feel guilty and treat her better. Let's go, Nathan urged impatiently. I followed him out of the courtyard. The street outside was busy, filled with people rushing about their daily chores. A few curious glances were cast our way, but no one knew where we were headed. The Civil Affairs Bureau wasn't far, just a 10-minute walk. The whole way there, Nathan didn't say a single word, and I didn't bother to speak either. Everything that needed to be said had already been said last night. Now all that was left was to make it official. When we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, the staff on duty was a woman in her 40s wearing glasses, her face serious and professional. What are you here for? She asked. Divorce, Nathan said flatly. The woman looked up at us, frowning slightly. Did you two have a fight? It's for work, Nathan explained. For work. She sounded doubtful. What kind of job requires a divorce? Nathan took out his military ID and handed it to her. I'm with the military district. There's a new policy. Officers can't have spouses registered with the rural household. The woman glanced over his ID, then looked at both of us before finally nodding. All right. Do you have all your documents? Yes, Nathan said. We handed over our marriage certificate and household registration booklet. She checked them carefully, then began filling out the divorce paperwork. How will you handle property division? She asked. Each takes their own belongings, I said quickly, cutting Nathan off before he could speak. And the house, it's military housing, Nathan replied. It stays with me. The woman nodded and kept writing. The entire process was surprisingly quick. It only took about 10 minutes. When she finally handed us 2 small red divorce certificates, my marriage was officially over. All done, the woman said. Are you sure you don't want to think it over again? No need. Thank you. I carefully tucked the certificate away and turned to leave. Nathan hesitated for a moment, then hurried after me. Autumn, wait. I stopped. What is it? The money. Oh, you mean the living expenses? I said, holding out my hand. $20, right? You can give it to me now. Nathan pulled out his wallet, counted 20 yuan, and handed it to me. I double-checked each bill before slipping them into my own pocket. All right, if that's all, I'll be on my way. Where are you going? He asked. To the youth camp, I said simply. Don't tell me you've already forgotten. I picked up my bundle and started walking toward the youth camp. Nathan stood still, watching me leave, not moving for a long time. Only when I disappeared into the distance did he finally turn and walk back. The youth camp was on the west side of the county town, about a 30-minute walk. As I walked, I thought over my next steps. In my past life, I had spent a year at that camp, enduring all kinds of hardship. This time, I was determined to live better. At the very least, I wouldn't let myself go hungry. When I arrived, the camp manager, an old man in his 50s named Mr. Wang, looked surprised to see me. Autumn Gray, you're back. Yes, Mr. Wang, I said with a smile. Are there any beds left? There are, he said quickly. Several empty ones in the women's dorm. Mr. Wang led me to the women's quarters. Inside were 3 young women, all from the city. When they saw me come in, they looked curious. Hey, Autumn's back. Weren't you married? Said Lisa, a cheerful 20-year-old girl from Beijing. Not anymore, I said simply. I'm divorced. All three of them widened their eyes. What? Why? It just wasn't right, I said, not wanting to elaborate. Oh, then good for you. Lisa patted my shoulder. A pretty girl like you won't have trouble finding someone better. The other two girls chimed in, offering comfort and encouragement. I smiled and thanked them, but my mind was already elsewhere. In my past life, when I'd returned here heartbroken and withdrawn, I'd kept to myself and never really got along with anyone. This time I needed to change that. If I wanted to live well, the first step was building good relationships. Lisa, I asked casually, what kind of work are you girls doing today? What kind of work are we doing today? I asked. Heading to the fields to dig sweet potatoes, Lisa said with a grimace. It's exhausting. Then I'll go too, I said. You just got here. No need to rush, she replied quickly. You can start tomorrow. It's fine, I said with a smile. Better to stay busy than sit around doing nothing. I set down my bundle, changed into an old set of work clothes, and followed them to the fields. The sweet potato field was on the eastern side of the village, stretching across a wide area. Other young workers were already there, digging under the sun. When they saw me coming, several of them greeted me warmly. Autumn, you're back. I heard you got married. Where's your husband? Faced with their curiosity, I just smiled without explaining much. But news spreads fast, and before long, someone who always seemed to know everything came running over with gossip. I heard you got divorced. What happened with that military officer? Yeah, why divorce all of a sudden? You two looked fine before. Still digging sweet potatoes, I said casually. It's nothing serious. We just weren't compatible. Not compatible? Then why didn't he figure that out sooner? Maybe because he found someone new, I said indifferently. The moment those words left my mouth, everyone went quiet. In this era, divorce was already a sensitive topic. But divorce because of another woman? That was scandalous. Lisa leaned closer and whispered. Someone new. What kind of woman? The daughter of a government official. I said lightly. And from what I heard, she's even pregnant. I said it as if it were nothing, but the impact was immediate. Everyone's expression softened with sympathy. That's awful. Then you're better off without him. A man like that isn't worth a damn. Don't be sad, Autumn. There are good men everywhere. Their words of comfort warmed my heart. Felt nice. This time, instead of enduring everything alone, there were people who cared. We worked in the fields until noon, then returned to the camp for lunch. The food in the canteen was simple. Stir-fried cabbage and radish with a bit of shredded meat and a cornbread bun. But I ate with real appetite. After all, it was food earned through my own labor. After the meal, I went back to the dorm to rest. Lying on the hard wooden bed, I began to think seriously about my future. In my past life, I had wasted a whole year here accomplishing nothing. This time, I was going to plan carefully and take control of my life. First, I needed to make money. $20 a month from Nathan wouldn't be enough. I had to find another source of income. Second, I had to improve myself. The college entrance exams were about to be reinstated soon, and I had to prepare to take them. And finally, I had to make those who hurt me pay for what they did, especially Grace and Grandma Gray. I would make them understand that scheming against me came with a price. As I was deep in thought, I heard footsteps outside the door, followed by a knock. Autumn, someone's here for you, said a voice. I got up and opened the door. Mr. Wong was standing outside. Who's looking for me? I asked. A soldier, he said. He says he's your husband. So Nathan Gray had come. I couldn't help but smirk coldly, regretting it already. Are you? Please let him in, I said calmly. Mr. Wong nodded and went to fetch him. A few moments later, Nathan appeared at the door, still in his military uniform, though his face looked pale and tense. Autumn, I need to talk to you, he said. Go ahead, I replied, sitting on the edge of the bed, my voice calm and steady. Nathan glanced around the room, clearly uncomfortable with the others present. Could you all step out for a bit? He asked. I need to speak with her alone. Lisa and the others exchanged glances but were considerate enough to get up and leave, gently closing the door behind them. The room fell silent. Only Nathan and I remained. Autumn, about the divorce, he began. What about it? Are you regretting it already? I cut him off sharply. No, he said quickly. I just wanted to ask if you're settling in all right here. I'm fine, I said coolly. Much more comfortable here than at your house. Nathan's expression darkened even more. Are you blaming me? Blame you for what? I feigned confusion. Didn't you say it was because of work? I understand. Autumn, enough, I said, standing up. If that's all you came to say, you can leave now. Wait, Nathan said, stopping me as I reached for the door. There's one more thing. What is it, Grace? She might really be pregnant. Inside I sneered. But on the surface I widened my eyes in mock surprise. Really? Then congratulations. Autumn, don't be like this, Nathan said, his voice heavy with discomfort. I know it's unfair to you. Unfair? I interrupted. What's unfair about it? We're divorced. Whoever you're with and however many children you have, none of that has anything to do with me. But what? I raised an eyebrow. You're not about to ask me to help you raise your child, are you? Nathan's silence and stiff expression told me that was exactly what he had been thinking. I almost laughed out loud. Nathan, I said coldly, we're divorced. Please remember who you are. Whatever happens in your life from now on has nothing to do with me. Autumn, you've really changed, he said quietly. Maybe, I replied. Maybe it's because I finally see things clearly now. I walked to the door, opened it, and said firmly, please leave. You're not welcome here. Nathan stood there for a long moment, looking at me with a complicated expression, but in the end he said nothing. He turned and walked away. As I watched his figure disappear down the hall, my emotions were mixed. In my past life I had loved this man so deeply, so humbly that I would have given up everything for him. Now that I looked back on it, it all seemed ridiculous. He was never worth it. After Nathan left, Lisa and the other girls came back into the room. So, was he begging you to go back? Lisa asked curiously. Not a chance, I said with a cold laugh. He just came to see how I was doing. Oh, so seeing you doing well must have made him uncomfortable, another roommate joked. Probably, I replied casually. But I knew the real reason Nathan had come. He just wanted to confirm whether I truly didn't care about the divorce. In my previous life I had cried and begged, and that had made him feel powerful, satisfied. This time my calm indifference unsettled him. Men are always like that. They crave what they can't have. That evening, a few of us female workers gathered together to chat. Suddenly, Lisa leaned in with a mysterious smile. Hey, I heard something interesting. What is it? We all asked, leaning closer. I heard the college entrance exams are coming back, she whispered. Really? Someone gasped. You're not joking? It's true, Lisa said confidently. My cousin works for the county office. He said there's already an official document. The announcement will come out soon. My heart leapt with excitement. Finally, it was happening. In my previous life, I'd missed the very first reinstated exam. By the time I realized how important it was already too late. But this time I was ready. I would seize this opportunity no matter what. Autumn, are you planning to take the exam? Lisa asked. Of course I am, I said without hesitation. Who wouldn't want to go to college? Then let's study together, she said. We'll keep each other on track. Sounds good, I said with a smile. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I thought for a long time. In my past life, I had never made it to college. I stayed at the youth camp for years, wasting my best days, and in the end I married a farmer. Life back then had been bitter. Hard work, little food, and no real future in sight. This time I was determined to change my fate. The next morning, I woke up before dawn and went to the village elementary school to borrow some books. The school teacher, Mr. Tsiong, was a warm-hearted man in his 30s. What kind of books are you looking for? He asked kindly. Math, physics, chemistry, and literature, I replied. You're planning to take the college entrance exam? Yes. Mr. Tsiong's eyes lit up with approval. Good for you. You've got ambition. I have some high school textbooks here. You can borrow them. He handed me a stack of worn books, and I carried the pile back to the youth camp, hugging them tightly to my chest. When Lisa saw me, her eyes went wide with excitement. Are those really high school textbooks? I want to borrow some too. Before long, The entire youth camp knew about the reinstatement of the college entrance exams. Everyone was thrilled, scrambling to find books and start reviewing. I organized my schedule down to the minute. Every morning, I got up at 5 to memorize English words. During the day, I worked in the fields, and at night, I studied by the dim light of a kerosene lamp, solving problem after problem. It was exhausting, but I felt fulfilled. Working toward a goal like this felt infinitely better than the empty, suffocating days I had spent as Nathan's wife in my past life. A week later, I was in the fields digging sweet potatoes when I saw a familiar figure approaching from afar. Grace. She was wearing a new blue jacket, and her belly looked slightly larger than before. "Hello, comrades." She greeted everyone with a bright smile. All the other young workers stopped what they were doing, curious. "Who are you?" someone asked. "I'm Grace," she said sweetly. "I'm here to see Autumn Gray." Instantly, all eyes turned to me. I set down my hoe, patted the dirt off my hands, and walked over. "What do you need?" I asked calmly. "Autumn," she said softly, her tone polite, but her eyes glinting with something sharp that only I could recognize. "I'd like to talk to you privately." "About what?" "It's about Nathan," she said quietly. I glanced around at the group of onlookers, then nodded. "Fine, let's talk over there." We walked to the edge of the field, stopping under a big tree away from everyone else. "Go ahead," I said, leaning against the trunk, my tone flat. "What do you want to say?" Grace gently stroked her belly, pretending to look pitiful. "Autumn, I know you must hate me." "Hate you? Why would I hate you?" I asked, expressionless. "Because of me and Nathan," she said, biting her lip. "I know you two divorced because of me." I let out a short, cold laugh. "You're overthinking it. We got divorced because of his job, not because of you." "But what?" I interrupted, my voice sharp. "Do you think the world revolves around you? Don't flatter yourself, Grace. You're giving yourself too much credit." Her face stiffened, her polite mask slipping for a moment. "Autumn, what's that supposed to mean?" "It means you should understand your place," I said, meeting her eyes without hesitation. "Whatever's going on between you and Nathan, I don't care, and I don't want to know." Grace was clearly thrown off by my calmness. She hadn't expected me to be so composed. "Autumn," she stammered. "Nathan, he's been in a bad mood lately. He keeps talking about you." "That's his problem," I said flatly. "What does that have to do with me?" I turned to leave, but Grace quickly reached out and grabbed my arm. "Autumn, wait." I stopped, looking at her with irritation. "What now?" Grace took a deep breath, then finally revealed her true purpose. "I hope you can talk to Nathan for me. Tell him to marry me soon." I blinked in disbelief and then burst out laughing. "You want me to convince him to marry you?" "Yes," she said earnestly, lowering her head. "I know it's a lot to ask," but then Grace pointed to her belly and said softly, "The baby can't grow up without a father." "Then go talk to him," I replied coldly. "Why are you coming to me?" "He said we should wait a while," she said, her voice trembling with just the right amount of sorrow. "He's afraid people will gossip if we marry too soon. But I can't wait anymore. If this keeps dragging on, my reputation will be ruined." I watched her performance, and all I could feel was amusement. In my past life, I had been fooled by those very same tears. So much so that I actually went to Nathan and persuaded him to marry her sooner. Now looking back, I realized just how stupid I had been. "Grace," I said coldly, "are you confused about something? Nathan and I are divorced. His affairs have nothing to do with me. And even if we weren't divorced, why should I convince my own husband to marry another woman? Did you get hit on the head or something?" Grace's face flushed bright red. She clearly hadn't expected me to speak so harshly. "Autumn, how could you say that?" She stammered. "How did I say it?" I asked, my voice calm but cutting. "Did I say anything that wasn't true? Tell me, what kind of person asks a woman to persuade her ex-husband to marry someone else? And you actually said it with a straight face." Grace was left speechless, her lips trembling but no words coming out. "All right, if that's all you came for, I'm going back to work," I said, turning away. "Wait, Autumn," she called again. "I know you still have feelings for Nathan." I stopped in my tracks and turned around slowly. "What did you just say?" "I said you still love him," she said, trying to sound bold. "Otherwise, you wouldn't have agreed to a fake divorce." Oh, I raised an eyebrow. And what exactly are you getting at? I just want you to understand, she said, her eyes glinting with malice. Nathan will never remarry you. He only loves me now and our baby. So, you better give up and find some honest man to marry. It's time you moved on. Her words made the anger in my chest flare up like fire, but I didn't let it show. Instead, I smiled faintly. Grace, I said quietly, do you know something? I almost feel sorry for you. She blinked, startled. Sorry for me? Yes, I said, my tone edged with irony. A woman who has to lie, deceive, and even fake a pregnancy just to steal someone else's man. You tell me, isn't that pitiful? Grace's face went pale instantly. What are you talking about? Oh, am I talking nonsense? I sneered. Tell me the truth, Grace. Are you really pregnant? Oh, of course I am, she stammered, instinctively placing her hands over her stomach. Is that so? I took a step closer, my eyes cold. Then would you dare go to the hospital for a checkup? Why should I go to the hospital? I know my own body, she said quickly, trying to sound confident. If that's true, then tell me. How far along are you? 3 months, she muttered. 3 months. I eyed her belly deliberately. Funny, it looks more like 5 or 6. What's in there? Padding? Her expression turned uglier by the second. You're slandering me. Am I? I asked coldly. You know perfectly well whether I am or not. Grace, I'd advise you to rein yourself in. Sooner or later, your little act will fall apart. With that, I turned and walked away, not bothering to look back. Behind me, I could hear Grace shouting curses, her voice shrill and furious, but I ignored her completely. When I returned to the field, Lisa and the others immediately gathered around me. Autumn, what did that woman want? Lisa asked curiously. Nothing. I said casually. Just came to provoke me. Provoke you? Lisa's eyes widened. Is she your ex-husband's new woman? Probably, I said with a shrug. That's disgusting, another girl said angrily. You're divorced. Why is she still bothering you? Exactly. Women like that are the worst. Everyone started voicing their indignation on my behalf, and I felt a warm sense of gratitude rise in my chest. It felt good having friends who cared, who stood on my side. That night, I was in the dorm reading when there was suddenly a knock on the door. Autumn, someone's here to see you again, Lisa said. I frowned. Could it be Nathan again? When I opened the door, sure enough, it was him. His face looked dark, his expression heavy with anger. Autumn, we need to talk, he said coldly. What now? I asked, my patience already wearing thin. Did you meet with Grace today? I did. So what? What did you say to her? His voice was sharp, almost accusatory. She's been crying nonstop since she got back. She said you slandered her. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Slandered her? What exactly did I say? He told her she wasn't really pregnant, that she was faking it. Nathan snapped. Did I say anything wrong? I shot back. He hesitated. What do you mean by that? Nothing much, I said evenly. It's just that her belly looks off. For someone who claims she's 3 months along, it looks more like 5 or 6. You're suspecting something, he stammered. I'm not suspecting anything, I replied with a shrug. I just think it's strange, that's all. But whatever it is, it's your problem, not mine. Nathan's expression grew darker by the second. Autumn, don't be unreasonable. Unreasonable? I laughed in disbelief. Nathan, get this straight. It's you two who came looking for me. I didn't go looking for either of you. He looked flustered. Grace, she's pregnant, Autumn. Can't you? I cut him off sharply. Being pregnant doesn't make her special. And let me warn you, stop coming to me with your personal drama. We're divorced, remember? Whatever goes on in your life has nothing to do with me. Nathan fell silent, his mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. He just stood there staring at me with that complicated look in his eyes that I'd seen so many times before. Half guilt, half confusion. Autumn, he said quietly after a long pause. You've really changed. Yeah, I said, nodding. I've changed. I'm smarter now. I don't let people lie to me anymore. What's that supposed to mean? He demanded. Nothing, I said calmly. Just thinking out loud. I gestured toward the door. Comrade Nathan, if there's nothing else, please leave. Nathan looked at me deeply, his lips tightening, but said nothing more. Then he turned and walked away. As I watched him go, my emotions were tangled. A strange mix of sadness, disappointment, and clarity. Once upon a time, I had loved that man with everything I had. Now looking at him felt like staring at a stranger. Maybe this was what growing up really meant. The next morning, I was eating breakfast in the canteen when Mr. Wong came over. "Autumn, you got a letter." I took it from him and glanced at the envelope. It was from Nathan. The letter was short, just a few lines. "Autumn, about what happened yesterday, I want to apologize. I know you're upset, but please don't take it out on Grace. She's innocent. Also, I'll make sure to send your living allowance on time this month." I finished reading and let out a cold laugh. Even now, he was still defending Grace. How ridiculous. "What's that?" Lisa leaned over curiously. "A letter from my ex-husband," I said, handing it to her. After reading it, she slammed her hand on the table. "That bastard. He and that woman wronged you, and he's telling you not to take it out on her. What kind of logic is that exactly?" Another roommate chimed in angrily. "That woman clearly came to provoke you, and he's calling her innocent." Everyone started voicing their outrage, standing up for me once again. Warmth filled my chest. Having friends like them really made all the difference. "Forget it," I said finally, smiling faintly. "They're not worth the attention." I tore Nathan's letter neatly in half, then again into tiny pieces and tossed it into the trash. "We should just focus on studying," I told Lisa and the others. That afternoon, while I was working in the fields, I suddenly noticed a jeep pulling up at the entrance of the village. A few men got out. One of them was Nathan Gray, and the others looked like military officials. They stopped near the road and seemed to be asking for directions. A bad feeling settled in my chest. Sure enough, a few minutes later, Mr. Wong came running toward me, panting. "Autumn, some officials want to see you." "Me?" I frowned, putting down my hoe. "What officials?" "From the military district," he said quickly. "They said they want to ask you a few questions." I followed him back to the youth camp. When we arrived, I saw Nathan sitting in the office with several men in uniform, all middle-aged and serious-looking. "Comrade, please have a seat," one of the officials said, pointing to a chair. I sat down, my heart beating fast. "You're Autumn Gray?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. "When did you and Comrade Nathan Gray officially dissolve your marriage?" "About a week ago," I said. "And what was the reason for the divorce?" I glanced briefly at Nathan. His expression was tense, his jaw tight. "He said it was because of work," I answered truthfully. "Work?" The official frowned. "What kind of work?" "He said there was a new policy from his superiors that military officers couldn't have spouses registered under a rural household." The officials exchanged glances, their expressions doubtful. "Comrade Nathan Gray," one of them said sternly. "Did you really tell her that?" Nathan's face darkened further. "Yes," he admitted. "Then can you tell me where this supposed policy came from?" The official pressed, his tone turning cold. Nathan opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Comrade Nathan Gray," the man continued, "I expect an honest answer." Beads of sweat appeared on Nathan's forehead. I didn't lie. I just considered the matter myself." The official's voice hardened. "So, you're saying this was your personal consideration, not an actual directive from your superiors?" The room fell silent. I sat quietly, my heart pounding with a mix of nerves and satisfaction. Finally, his lie had been exposed. "Comrade Autumn Gray." The official turned to me. "Aside from this supposed policy, was there any other reason for your divorce?" I hesitated for a moment, then decided to tell the truth. "Yes, there was another reason. He has another woman." "Another woman?" "Yes," I said clearly. "She's the daughter of a local official. Her name is Grace Shen. I've also heard she's pregnant with his child." The officials' expressions all darkened immediately. They turned their eyes toward Nathan, fury written across their faces. "Comrade Nathan Gray," one of them barked. "What's the meaning of this?" Nathan had gone pale. "Sir, I can explain." "Explain what?" The man snapped. "That you abandoned your wife for another woman? I'm extremely disappointed in you." "Sir, it's not what you think," Nathan stammered. "Then what is it?" the man demanded. Nathan opened his mouth again, but nothing came out because there was no explanation. It was all true. You had betrayed me for Grace. Comrade Nathan Gray, the official said sharply. I am formally notifying you that the organization has decided to issue a disciplinary warning and suspend you from your duties pending further investigation. Nathan's face drained of color. Sir, I have nothing to say. The official waved a hand dismissively. A man who can abandon his own wife. How can we trust him to be loyal to the organization? With that, the officials stood up, preparing to leave. Before walking out, one of them turned to me and said, Comrade Autumn Gray, you've been wronged. If you encounter any difficulties, you may contact us at any time. He handed me a small slip of paper. Written on it was his contact information. After the officials left, only Nathan and I remained in the room. He sat there, his entire body slumped, as if all the strength had drained out of him. Are you satisfied now? He asked bitterly, lifting his eyes to me. They were filled with both pain and anger. Satisfied? I repeated. Satisfied that you've been suspended or that your lies have finally been exposed. Autumn, why did you have to do this to me? What did I do to you? I shot back. All I did was answer their questions honestly. I stood up and looked down at him coldly. Nathan, you made your own choices. You'll have to live with the consequences. Do you realize what this means? His voice trembled slightly. My career might be ruined. So what? I said, my tone like ice. When you decided to abandon me for another woman, did you ever stop to think how I would feel? Nathan's lips moved, but he couldn't find a single word to say. Autumn, Enough. I cut him off sharply. Don't say another word, Nathan. It's over between us. Stop clinging to what's already gone. Without waiting for his response, I turned and walked out of the office. Behind me, his voice echoed faintly. Autumn, I won't give up. I didn't look back. I walked straight out of the youth camp. Outside, the sunlight was bright and warm, falling gently across my face. I took a deep breath, feeling a freedom I hadn't felt in years. In my past life, they had humiliated and crushed me until I had nothing left. But this time I was the one in control, and this was only the beginning. I had much bigger plans. That evening, as I was reading in the dorm, Lisa came over with a mysterious expression. Autumn, she whispered. I just heard something. What is it? It's about your ex-husband, she said, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. I heard he's been suspended. Is that true? I pretended to be surprised. Suspended? I hadn't heard. Yeah, Lisa said, lowering her voice. People in the village are saying it's for lying to his superiors and for personal misconduct. Oh, I said casually, keeping my tone calm as I turned a page in my book. But inside I was quietly thrilled. So it was true. Nathan had finally fallen hard. And this was only the first step of my plan for revenge. Next, it would be Grace and Grandma Gray's turn. I wanted them to experience what it felt like to be deceived and humiliated. The next morning I got up early, planning to go into town to take care of some errands. But as soon as I reached the edge of the village, I saw a familiar figure waiting for me. It was Nathan. He looked pale and exhausted, dark circles under his eyes as if he hadn't slept all night. His expression was full of regret and desperation. Autumn, he said softly. I've been waiting for you. Do you need something? I asked, stopping a few feet away. I want to talk, he said, about us, about our future. I couldn't help but laugh. Our future? Nathan, are you still confused? We're divorced. There is no future. Autumn, I know I was wrong, he said suddenly. And before I could react, he dropped to his knees right there on the dirt road. Please forgive me. Let's start over. I'm begging you. For a moment I just stared at him. In my past life I had dreamed of this scene, of him realizing his mistake, of him kneeling and asking me to come back. And now it was really happening. But I felt nothing. Nathan, stand up, I said calmly. Kneeling won't fix anything. Then what will? He asked, looking up at me, his eyes full of desperate hope. Nothing, I said quietly. Because there's nothing left to fix. I shook my head. Nathan, we're finished. No, he said, his voice rising in panic. He stood up abruptly, his face contorted with emotion. I don't believe that. You still have feelings for me, don't you, Autumn? You only agreed to the fake divorce because you still had feelings for me. Otherwise you wouldn't have agreed, Nathan said, his voice desperate. You're overthinking it, I said coldly. I agreed to the fake divorce only because I wanted to leave you. What? Nathan froze. You thought I loved you that much? I let out a mocking laugh. Nathan, you think far too highly of yourself. I married you because I needed an urban household registration. Now that I've got what I wanted, I don't need you anymore. Of course, those words were harsh, but I wanted to make him suffer like he'd made me suffer in my past life. No, that can't be true. Nathan's face went ashen. Autumn, you're not that kind of person. What kind of person do you think I am? I retorted. You probably know me less than my roommates do. In 3 years of marriage, how much of your time did you spend truly with me? You were always busy with work or spending time with your white moonlight. In your heart, I was probably not even a substitute. Nathan had no reply because what I said was true. So don't come pester me anymore, I said, turning to leave. We'll each go our separate ways and have nothing to do with each other. Autumn, wait. Nathan called after me again. What about Grace? What are we going to do about her? What do you mean? What are we going to do? I stopped and turned slowly. She's pregnant with my child. You can't be irresponsible. I faced him squarely. I'll ask you one more time. Is she really pregnant? Of course she's pregnant, he answered. Then would you dare take her to the hospital for a checkup? I asked, smiling sweetly. If you're going to be a father, shouldn't you care about the child's health? Nathan hesitated, stammering. Why go to the hospital? There's nothing to worry about. Exactly, I raised an eyebrow. I actually suspect she might not be pregnant. No, I didn't. Nathan hurriedly denied. Then go get it checked. It's no big deal. His face darkened. He clearly hadn't expected me to suggest that. Is something wrong? I pressed. No, nothing's wrong, he said awkwardly. I'll make arrangements. Then I'll wait for good news, I said with a smile. If she really is pregnant, I'll wish you both well. With that, I turned and left. Nathan's voice called after me in a complicated mix of sounds. Autumn. But I didn't look back. Walking toward the county town, I felt good. His reaction told me he had doubts about Grace's pregnancy too. That doubt, once planted, would slowly take root and grow. Cracks would appear between them, and at the right moment, I would give them a push to tear them apart completely. When I reached the county seat, I went straight to the post office to write a letter to a friend in Beijing to ask about certain things. That friend was someone I knew in my previous life. Jiang Ming, a reporter who knew how to get information and who was an honest man. I also inquired locally about concrete news on the reinstatement of the college entrance exam, and a few other matters. After mailing the letter, I went to the county Xinhua bookstore to buy study materials to prepare for the exam. The shop didn't have many books, but it stocked the basic textbooks. I bought math, physics, chemistry, and Chinese language textbooks, spending a fair amount of money, but it was an investment worth making. After leaving the bookstore, I started heading back to the youth camp. Halfway there, I suddenly noticed a familiar figure up ahead. It was Grace. She was standing by the road, talking to a middle-aged woman who looked like her mother. I slowed my steps and quietly moved closer, curious to hear what they were saying. Mom, why hasn't Nathan come by lately? Grace's voice carried a hint of panic. Maybe he's just busy with work, her mother said soothingly. No, Grace muttered. I heard he was suspended. Something to do with the divorce. What? Her mother's voice rose sharply. How could that happen? I don't know, Grace said bitterly. Maybe that woman said something. That country girl, her mother scoffed. What could she possibly say? Mom, what are we going to do now? Grace's voice trembled. If Nathan really gets dismissed, our plan will fall apart. Don't panic, her mother said after a moment. Let's wait and see how things go. Or maybe you should go talk to her. Find out what really happened. I don't dare, Grace said quickly. If someone sees me talking to her, it'll look bad. What should we do then? We can't just sit around. By that point, I had heard enough. It was clear Grace and her mother really had been scheming against Nathan. And judging by how worried she was, Grace definitely wasn't pregnant. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so afraid. I slipped away quietly before they could notice me. When I got back to the youth camp, I went straight to tell Lisa what I had heard. What? She exclaimed, eyes wide. They're plotting against your ex-husband. That's disgusting. Exactly, I said calmly. And I'm almost certain she's not pregnant at all. Not pregnant? Lisa gasped. Then her belly must be fake. Maybe she stuffed something in there. Lisa stomped her foot in anger. That woman is unbelievable. So shameless. Autumn, shouldn't you tell your ex-husband about this? She asked. I shook my head. No need. He'll figure it out himself soon enough. Why not tell him? Because only when he discovers the truth on his own will he actually believe it and feel the pain, I said with a faint smile. If I told him, he'd just think I made it up out of jealousy. Lisa thought for a moment, then nodded. You're right. Let's just wait and see how this plays out. That night, I was reading in my room when I suddenly heard shouting outside. I walked to the window and looked out, and there they were, Nathan and Grace, arguing loudly at the entrance of the camp. Grace, you're coming with me to the hospital, Nathan said sternly. Why do we need to go to the hospital? Grace asked, her voice tight with panic. To check on the baby, he said firmly. There's no need. The baby is fine, she insisted. I said we're going, Nathan snapped, his tone cold and commanding. Grace, are you hiding something from me? I'm not hiding anything, she stammered. Then come to the hospital right now. Grace looked terrified, her voice trembling. Nathan, why are you suddenly doing this? What's gotten into you? Someone told me you're not pregnant, Nathan said flatly. I need to know the truth. Who said that? Grace's voice rose sharp and shrill. Was it that woman, Autumn? It doesn't matter who said it, Nathan replied. I just need to confirm it myself. I'm not going, Grace suddenly shouted, panic flashing across her face. I just won't go. Why not? Nathan demanded. If you're really pregnant, what are you so afraid of? Grace froze, unable to answer. Her face went white as a sheet, her body trembling all over. Grace, what's wrong with you? Nathan's voice trembled now as he demanded. Tell me, are you really pregnant or not? Grace suddenly burst into tears. Nathan, do you not believe me? I'm telling the truth. I'm really pregnant. I want to believe you, but your behavior makes me doubt it, Nathan said, his words tight with hurt. You're accusing me of lying, she sobbed. I didn't lie. Then prove it. Go to the hospital and show me, he demanded. They stood locked in stubborn silence, neither willing to back down. I watched from the window, inwardly satisfied. Just as I thought, doubt had begun to creep into Nathan's mind. That would be far more effective than if I had simply told him the truth. In the end, Grace still refused to go to the hospital. She ran off crying, leaving Nathan alone at the gate, his face pale and strained with confusion and pain. I knew the seed of suspicion had been planted. Now it was up to Grace to handle the fallout. The next morning, while I was working in the fields, Mr. Wong came looking for me again. Autumn, someone's here to see you. Who is it? I frowned. Grandma Gray, he said. I walked back with him to the camp and found Grandma Gray sitting in the office, her face stormy. As soon as she saw me, anger flashed in her eyes. Autumn Gray, come here. Is something wrong? I asked, taking the seat across from her. Did you say bad things about Grace in front of my grandson? She demanded, slamming her hand on the table. What bad things did I say? I asked coolly. You said she wasn't really pregnant, Grandma Gray yelled, pointing at me. You vicious woman. She's perfectly fine. Why would you slander her? Did I slander her? I asked, looking at her calmly. I only suggested she go to the hospital for a checkup. For what? She snapped. Her health is fine. Even if her health seems fine, you should do regular checks, especially for someone who's pregnant, I answered firmly. It's for the child's sake. Grandma Gray was momentarily speechless since my point was reasonable. Anyway, you must not say a word against Grace again, she ordered, flushed with shame and fury. Or I won't be polite. I won't be polite. How would you be impolite? I raised an eyebrow. Don't forget, we're not one family anymore. What right do you have to boss me around? Her face darkened. She clearly hadn't expected me to stand so firm. In my previous life, I'd been respectful and submissive to her every whim. This time I wouldn't let her bully me. Autumn, don't go too far, Grandma Gray snapped. Too far. I stood up. Who's going too far? You and your family schemed to break up my marriage for Grace, and now you come here to blame me. Isn't that ridiculous? I don't know what you're talking about, she said, suddenly flustered. Oh really? I sneered. Let me remind you whose child is in Grace's belly exactly. Is it Nathan's or is there no child at all? Her face strained white. She opened her mouth but said nothing. Clearly she knew the truth deep down. I stepped closer. You'd better restrain yourself. When the truth comes out, you won't have a good ending. Then I turned and walked out. Grandma Gray cursed behind me, but I paid her no mind. She'd made my life miserable before. This time she would learn that mistreating people comes with a cost. That afternoon, I was reading when Lisa burst into the room, excited. Big news, big news. What news? I put my book down. How did the fight start? I asked. Lisa's eyes sparkled with excitement. They say it was about the hospital checkup. That woman flat out refused to go, and your ex-husband started suspecting she wasn't really pregnant. And then, I prompted. Then he went to her mother demanding an explanation, Lisa said, her voice lowering dramatically. What did they say? What else could they say? Of course they denied everything, Lisa said, practically bouncing with gossip-fueled energy. But your ex didn't buy it. He insisted she had to go to the hospital. In the end, that woman said she needed time to think about it. In other words, I said, smiling faintly, she's just stalling. Exactly, Lisa nodded quickly. Everything was happening exactly as I expected. Grace must be panicking now, not knowing what to do. If she went to the hospital, her lies would be exposed. But if she refused, Nathan would grow even more suspicious. She was trapped, caught between her own deceit and his growing doubt. What do you think she'll do next? Lisa asked curiously. I don't know, I said calmly. But we'll find out soon. And I was right. That very night the answer came. Grace had a miscarriage. Or at least that was the story going around. Supposedly, it was caused by emotional distress that made her pregnancy unstable. The baby was gone. The news reached the youth camp while I was eating dinner. Are you serious? Lisa gasped. That's so coincidental. Almost too coincidental. I'd say it's fake. I replied evenly, taking another bite of my food. After all, she was never pregnant to begin with. So what happens now? Lisa asked. I don't know, I said. But I imagine Nathan's feeling guilty. Sure enough, the next day, Nathan came looking for me. His face was pale and drawn, his eyes full of grief and remorse. Autumn, he said as soon as he saw me. Grace lost the baby. Oh, I answered, my tone calm and unreadable. And then she said it happened because I didn't trust her. That I upset her too much, he said bitterly. So you came to me for what exactly? I asked, folding my arms. I want to know. He hesitated, searching my face. Did you already know this would happen? I looked at him for a long moment, then smiled faintly. Nathan, what do you think I am? Some kind of prophet. I just found it strange, I said, interrupting him. Every time you start questioning something, things suddenly go wrong. Maybe it's because you're finally hitting a nerve. Nathan stared at me, silent. I could tell he thought the whole situation was suspicious. The timing was too perfect, right after he demanded a hospital checkup. Autumn, he said finally, his voice low. Tell me the truth. Do you know something? Know what? I asked. I'm just your ex-wife, the one you threw away. What could I possibly know? Your attitude is strange, he said quietly. Since the divorce, you've been so calm, too calm. It's like you knew all of this was going to happen. Nathan's perception was sharp. I give him that. But I wasn't about to tell him about my rebirth. Maybe I'm just not as easy to fool anymore, I said coldly. Nathan, some things don't need to be said out loud. You know exactly what kind of tricks have been played. Tricks, he repeated, frowning. Think about it yourself, I said, turning away. If that's all, I have work to do. Autumn, wait, he called after me. Can't we start over? I stopped and turned slowly. Start over? Yes, he said quickly. Grace lost the baby. The obstacle between us, it's gone now. I couldn't help but laugh, though there was no warmth in it. Nathan, did you just call that woman an obstacle? I didn't mean it like that. Oh, I know exactly what you meant. I cut him off, my voice turning icy. You mean that as long as she doesn't have a child, you can come crawling back to me, right? Tell me, Nathan, what does that make me to you? A backup plan. His lips parted in panic. No. Oh, Autumn, you've got it all wrong. I didn't misunderstand anything. I cut him off sharply. Listen to me, Nathan Gray. I will never get back together with you. Not now. Not ever. Without waiting for his response, I turned and walked away, ignoring his desperate calls behind me. That man still didn't understand. He thought that as long as the issue with Grace was resolved, I'd somehow return to his side like nothing ever happened. How naive. The wounds he gave me in my past life went too deep. Some things could never be forgiven, let alone repaired. And besides, I had far more important things to focus on. The national college entrance exams were about to be reinstated, and this was my chance to completely change my destiny. As for Nathan and Grace, they could deal with their own mess. I was done caring. When the official announcement about the reinstatement of the college entrance exams came, the entire youth camp erupted in excitement. Everyone was talking, laughing, cheering like a festival had arrived. It's really happening, Lisa squealed, grabbing my arm and jumping up and down. Autumn, we actually have a chance now. Her enthusiasm was infectious. And though I was thrilled, what I felt even more was determination. This was my chance to rewrite my life, and I wasn't going to waste it. In the following days, the camp was swept up in a frenzy of studying. We worked in the fields by day, read books by night, and even recited vocabulary words over our meals. My progress was faster than most people's. After all, I still remembered much of what I'd learned in my previous life, especially in math and physics. Many concepts came back to me with ease. About a month later, I received a letter from Jiang Ming, my journalist friend in Beijing. His reply was detailed, outlining the new exam policies and offering updates about the education system. One detail immediately caught my attention. There were plans to resume the graduate entrance exams as well. That was incredible news. If I could get into graduate school, my starting point in life would be so much higher. When I shared the news with Lisa and the others, they were all excited. Graduate school? Lisa gasped. That's amazing. Isn't that even better than college? Of course, I said with a smile. Graduate students often become state officials or researchers. Are you going to take the graduate exam, Autumn? I'll focus on getting into college first, I said, laughing softly. Just then, Mr. Wong showed up at the door again. Autumn, someone's here to see you. I sighed again. Who is it this time? Lately, people have been coming to see me so often it was starting to cut into my study time. It's a young woman, Mr. Wong said, scratching his head. Her last name's Shun something. Grace Shun, I muttered, frowning. What does she want now? Following Mr. Wong to the office, I saw Grace sitting inside. She looked terrible, pale and worn out, her eyes red and swollen from crying. Do you need something? I asked calmly, taking the seat across from her. Autumn, she began softly, her voice trembling. I came to apologize for everything before. It was my fault. Oh, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Anything else? I wanted to ask you something, she said hesitantly. What is it? Did you already know I wasn't pregnant? I studied her quietly for a long moment before replying. Do you think that question still matters now, Grace? Yes, she said urgently, tears glistening in her eyes. It matters. Please just tell me. How did you know? Maybe because I pay attention to details, I said evenly. A woman 3 months pregnant doesn't look like you did. And your behavior, your appetite, your energy, it didn't match either. Grace lowered her head, her shoulders trembling. I know I was wrong, she whispered. But I really love Nathan. I let out a short, humorless laugh. You call that love? Lying, scheming, deceiving. That's not love, Grace. That's manipulation. Her head sank even lower. I know I've done terrible things, she murmured. But I've already paid the price. What price? I asked coldly. Nathan doesn't want me anymore, Grace said, her voice trembling. He said I lied to him and told me never to show up in front of him again. I nodded calmly. That outcome was exactly what I'd expected. Nathan had many flaws, but the one thing he couldn't tolerate was being deceived. So, I asked evenly, what are you here for? I want to ask you for a favor, she said, lifting her tear-filled eyes to me. Could you please talk to Nathan for me? Say a few good words on my behalf. I know I'm asking too much, but I don't know what else to do. I was honestly stunned by her audacity. How thick could this woman's skin possibly be? She had lied to Nathan, tricked him, and now she wanted me to plead for her. Grace, I said sharply, are you out of your mind? Do you really think I'd help you? I know it's wrong of me, but... I cut her off coldly. Listen carefully. Nathan and I are divorced. His life has nothing to do with me anymore. And even if we were still married, I still wouldn't help you. Why? She asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. Because you don't deserve it. I looked her straight in the eye, my tone icy. Someone who can't even be honest doesn't deserve to talk about love. Grace's tears fell freely now. Autumn, I know I was wrong. I really do. If admitting a mistake could make everything right, I said, standing up, then we wouldn't need laws or consequences, would we? You did something wrong. You faced the fallout. But I really love him, she pleaded. I laughed bitterly. Do you even know what love is? Love is respect. It's trust. It's honesty and sincerity. And you? You've done nothing but lie and manipulate. That's not love, Grace. It's selfishness, possession, control. She stared down at her hands, completely speechless, crying harder now. But I felt no sympathy. In my previous life, this woman had ruined me. This time, she was just reaping what she'd sown. Grace, I said, walking toward the door. You should give up. Nathan will never forgive you. And even if he does, there's no happy ending waiting for either of you. Why? She choked out through her sobs. Because once trust is broken, I said quietly, glancing back at her, it can never truly be repaired. You two have no future left. With that, I left the office. Behind me, Grace's cries echoed in the corridor, but I didn't turn around. She was finally getting what she deserved. That night, as I was studying, Lisa burst into the room again, out of breath and wide-eyed. Autumn, more news. I put my book down. What now? Your ex-husband's being transferred, she said in a hushed tone. I frowned. Transferred where? To the borderlands. Far away, she whispered. Word is it's because of his conduct. Some kind of disciplinary reassignment. I nodded slowly. That makes sense. Nathan crossed too many lines this time. The organization wouldn't just let it go. Lisa leaned closer, lowering her voice even more. They say he wants to see you before he leaves to say goodbye. I'm not seeing him, I said firmly. Why not? She asked, surprised. There's no point, I replied. It's over. Meeting him would only cause unnecessary entanglement. I have more important things to focus on. The college entrance exams are coming up, and I can't afford any distractions. The next day, Nathan showed up anyway. When Mr. Wong came to tell me he was outside, I told him to say I wasn't there. But Nathan didn't leave. He waited at the gate of the youth camp, morning, noon, and all the way until evening. Autumn, Lisa said softly, watching him through the window. You're really not going to see him? He's been waiting the whole day. I'm not, I said, my voice steady. I meant it. But he's leaving tomorrow, Lisa said softly. You might never see him again. Good, I replied flatly. That'll save us both from any more pointless entanglements. Lisa sighed. Autumn, your heart's really hard sometimes. It's not hard, I said without even looking up from my book. It's clear you're still young, Lisa. You don't yet understand what it means to protect yourself. Remember this. A man's tears are the cheapest thing in the world. Never fall for them. Lisa nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. By 10 that night, Nathan finally left. The next morning when I woke up, I found a folded note tucked beneath my pillow. It was from him. Autumn, I know you didn't want to see me, but I still wanted to say a few words. This transfer is the punishment I deserve. I don't hate anyone for it. I just want you to know that I truly understand my mistakes now. If there's another life after this one, I hope I'll know how to cherish you then. Nathan Gray. I stared at the letter for a long time, emotions stirring faintly in my chest. In my past life, I had dreamed of hearing those words from him, begged for them even. But now that I finally had them, I felt nothing. Time really was a strange thing. It could dull even the deepest pain until it vanished completely. I tore the letter into pieces and tossed it into the trash. Then I washed up and got ready for the day. A new morning had begun, and with it, a new chapter of my life. Nathan's departure meant I was finally free of the past and everything that came with it. From this moment on, I would live only for myself. After he left, my life settled into a steady rhythm. Every morning, I got up at 5 to study English vocabulary. I worked the fields during the day and spent my nights solving practice problems and reading textbooks. The routine was exhausting but fulfilling. Lisa and the others were studying hard too. And soon, the whole dorm was filled with an atmosphere of determination and focus. 2 months later, registration for the college entrance exams began. Lisa and I traveled to the county office together, both nervous and excited. "Autumn, what major are you applying for?" she asked as we filled out the forms. "Chinese literature," I said without hesitation. "At Peking University." "Wow," Lisa's eyes went wide. "That's ambitious." "What? You don't think I can get in?" I teased. "It's not that," she said quickly, laughing. "It's just Peking University. That's amazing. But hey, I'm rooting for you. Go big or go home." Her enthusiasm made me smile. Her support, simple as it was, warmed my heart. There was a reason I'd chosen that particular major. In my previous life, I'd heard of Jiang Ming, my journalist friend, being a Peking University Chinese literature graduate. If I could get in, not only would I fulfill my dream of studying, but I might even become his colleague someday. It would open countless doors for my future. After registering, we stopped by the county bookstore to buy extra study materials. The place was packed. Young people from every nearby village crowded around the shelves, their eyes shining with hope. For all of us, this exam was the one chance to change our lives. As I was browsing through the shelves, Lisa tugged on my sleeve suddenly. "Autumn, look over there." I followed her gaze and froze. It was Grace. She was standing by the counter holding a few review books in her hands. Her face looked pale and tired, but there was a certain determination in her eyes. "She's going to take the exam too," Lisa whispered. "Probably," I said calmly. "It's not surprising. These days, the college exam is the only real path to a better life. Since she's failed in love, she's bound to try her luck through education instead." "Should we go say hi?" Lisa asked hesitantly. "There's no need," I said, shaking my head. "Let's just go." I had no interest in crossing paths with Grace ever again. But before we could leave, she spotted us and hurried over, her movements awkward, her smile strained. "Autumn, Lisa," she greeted softly. I gave a short nod. "Grace," she said with a faint smile. "You're here for review books too?" "Yeah," Lisa answered politely before I could speak. "You're taking the college exam as well?" "Yes." Grace's cheeks flushed slightly. "I want to start over." "That's good," Lisa said, trying to sound friendly. The air between us grew awkward. No one seemed to know what to say. Finally, I broke the silence. "It's getting late. We should go." "All right, Autumn," Grace said softly. "Good luck on your exam." "Thanks," I replied calmly. "And good luck to you too." After we left the bookstore, Lisa sighed. "Autumn, don't you think you were a little cold to her? I mean, she's kind of pitiful now." "Pitiful?" I stopped walking and turned to look at her. "Lisa, don't let appearances fool you. Whatever Grace is going through now, she brought it on herself." "But there's no but," I interrupted firmly. "Remember what I'm about to tell you. People who look pitiful often have done something despicable to deserve it. Grace may seem unfortunate now, but what she did was far worse." Lisa fell silent, nodding thoughtfully. After we returned to the youth camp, I threw myself into my studies with even more focus. There were only 3 months left before the college entrance exam, and every minute counted. Except for eating and sleeping, I spent nearly all my time reviewing. Hard work pays off. My scores improved rapidly, especially in math and physics. I'd already mastered most of the material. My Chinese and English had also improved significantly. A month later, the county organized a mock exam. I did exceptionally well, ranking among the top 10 in the entire county. When the results came out, Lisa jumped up with excitement. "Autumn, you're amazing. With this score, you're definitely getting into Peking University." "Not yet," I said modestly. I can't let my guard down. But inside I was thrilled. My results proved that my hard work was paying off, and that my preparation was on the right track. When the actual exams began, I performed steadily throughout all 3 days. Math went especially well. I solved almost every question. After the tests, everyone gathered to discuss answers. Autumn, how do you think you did? Lisa asked eagerly. Pretty well, I think. Nothing unexpected. I'm sure you got into Peking University, she said with a grin. I smiled but didn't say much. Deep down I was confident, but I didn't want to tempt fate. The competition was fierce, and anything could happen. 2 months later, the results were announced. I scored 578 points, ranking second in the entire province. When Lisa burst into the dorm, waving the results in her hands, she was almost shouting, Autumn, you got 578, second in the whole province. The other girls gathered around, gasping and cheering. That's incredible. You're definitely going to Peking University now. Autumn, you have to treat us to dinner. Lisa laughed, clutching my arm. As I looked at the score sheet, my chest tightened with emotion. This wasn't just a number. It was my freedom. My chance to truly change my fate. That evening, the youth camp threw a small celebration for me. We cooked, we laughed, we toasted under the dim oil lamp light. Autumn, Lisa said, raising her cup with a bright smile. When you get to Peking University, don't forget us old friends. Okay, forget you. I laughed, clinking my cup against hers. Never. You all are my truest friends. As we cheered and drank together, my eyes stung with tears. These people, this little family I'd found, they were the ones who had given me warmth in the hardest chapter of my life. A few days later, I received my official admission letter from Peking University. The bright red envelope trembled in my hands as I opened it. I had done it. I was finally admitted to Peking University. It was the first great victory of my new life, the true beginning of my rebirth. With that letter in my hands, I knew I was ready to step into a completely new future.